how to get started on the Paleo-Ketogenic diet. Hi, my name is Sylvia and I write a blog, bigcitymom.com. On it, I share my various journeys to achieve health, optimal nutrition, and healthy lifestyle in the big city of New York. If you are on this journey yourself, this is a definitely channel for you, so please subscribe and hit that notification button. All right, let's get started with today's video. Whether you are on the paleo diet, the low carb diet, or the ketogenic diet, with a paleo-ketogenic diet, there's still a lot more to change. So you will need a good strategy to make this diet a success. Especially that it isn't just what you're eating, but how much of it and when you eat it that is important. Particularly, the ratios of fats and proteins are really important for this diet, as part of its success relies on staying in constant ketosis. You will battle cravings, experience major withdrawals from your favorite foods. For me, it's the keto ice cream and nuts. As a matter of fact, I'm still thinking about nuts and I still wish I could eat them. However, you will start seeing improvements really quickly, and that will propel you to stick with the diet. If you are taking medication, talk to your doctor before you plunge into this way of eating. You might have to do this diet under their supervision. That said, let's get to the strategies. If you are a coffee lover, sweets and cheese addict, remove these foods in phases so that the transition isn't a pure torture. Decide which of the group of foods you want to remove first. Do it for a couple of weeks or however long it will take you to feel free from the cravings, and then move on to the next group of foods. It would be really helpful if you can get rid of any food from your pantry that isn't a part of the paleo-ketogenic diet. It wasn't quite possible for me because I have other family members and my toddler that don't do this diet. So in the moments of weakness, I had my toddler's gummy bears and I learned that they give me a flare-up. I started transitioning to PKD, paleo-ketogenic diet, by removing tea, dairy, and nightshade vegetables. Surprisingly, this wasn't as hard as I thought it would have been. When I got to the coffee business was when the challenges really started. Actually, I made 2 videos about that whole process, and I will link them down below. It took me a good couple of months before I could confidently say that I am free from the coffee addiction. During that time, I was still eating nuts, fruits, and root vegetables. At this point, I am 99% PKD compliant, except that sometimes I dream or think about peanut butter with some apples. You will need to maintain a ratio of proteins to fat 2:1 to get in and stay in ketosis. About 80% of your calories will come from fat, 15% of calories will come from proteins, and 5% of calories will come from carbohydrates. Personally, I do 80% of calories from fat and 20% of calories from proteins. I noticed that when I eliminated all carbohydrates from my diet was when I noticed the most of improvements in my autoimmunity symptoms. Paleo Medicina uses a formula of 2:1 fat to proteins by dry matter in grams. I don't follow that formula. I do it more intuitively. So to give you a good visual, you can imagine a slice of fatty bacon, and so naturally 80% of that bacon will be fat and 20% will be meat. Another way to think of it is if you see ground beef with 80% of lean protein, you will need to add a couple of spoons of tallow to bring it to the right proportions. I also use a mobile app, my Fitness to track my macros. And so, for example, when I get to the end of the day and I see that I'm short of on my macros, I will take a spoonful of tallow with some salt and warm water and literally just chug it down to get to the right proportions. This is not a delicious meal. I think of it as a medical intervention or a supplement to my diet. You will need to get a variety of animal fats. That's tallow, lard, duck fat, and butter. Animal fats are coming back to popularity, even though they have been part of traditional cultures and their cuisines for millennia. Tallow is beef fat. It's really great for cooking and frying. It has a really mild taste, and as I mentioned, I can take it by spoonfuls. It has a decent flavor and there's no aftertaste and no burping. Lard is a pig fat. It's great for frying and cooking. The flavor is not so great, and when I take it by spoon, I had a weird aftertaste and I burped a lot. Duck fat comes from ducks. Really good for frying and cooking, really mild taste. When I took it by spoon, it was decent. It was a slight aftertaste and a little bit of burping afterwards. And then comes butter. Now this one, it will depend on your personal circumstances. Some people tolerate butter well. Some people respond to even the minuscule amount of lactose in it. If you really like butter, you might try to do a clarified butter, but if that doesn't work, you will just have to cut it out. Butter is part of my diet because all my autoimmune symptoms went away before I got to cutting out of butter. Next step, organ meats. You will need to add them to your diet. Most people I know don't eat organ meats. Most people I talk to can stand the idea of eating organ meats. But trust me, they are really great in providing much needed micronutrients that are fewer in muscle meats. Paleo-Medicina recommends that you have a 1 serving of organ meats a week while doing PKD. Now you can start with chicken livers or beef liver. Their flavor is really mild and they're really easy to make. Basically, you fry them 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes on each side, transfer it to the plate, salt it, and basically you are done. That is your meal. Another way to sneak organ meats into your diet is to cook them, grate them, and then mix them, let's say, with your ground beef. If you choose to eat carbohydrates, be sure these are root vegetables and small amount of fruit. Under normal circumstances, your gut will be able to absorb the right nutrients and get rid of the plant toxins. Now, for people with autoimmunity and gut issues, those plant toxins such as lectins, oxalates, phytates, and so on, oftentimes get into the bloodstream and causing the immune system to respond. So I don't eat any vegetables or fruit simply because if I had to have a quarter of an apple, it just wouldn't happen. The whole apple or the whole bag of apples would be gone. So it's kind of an all or nothing deal for me. And finally, eat only when you're hungry, don't snack. Well, let me tell you, this was a really tough one for me. Probably even more difficult than quitting coffee. When you are in ketosis, your body is a lot more satiated and you don't feel hunger as much. However, probably more mentally than anything else, I was still struggling with snacking. And snacking wasn't my thing until I gave birth to my son and continued breastfeed him for 18 months. During that time, I was feeling hungry a lot more frequently, and also I was quite paranoid about losing my milk supply. So at the slightest sensation of hunger, I would run and eat something. Now that went on for 18 months and created a pretty bad habit. So interestingly, I can fast for 5 days, I can do intermittent fasting, but when I get to the eating window, all hell breaks loose. So I'm a lot better. I gradually eliminated all the snacking episodes, but I am still working on it. And it is quite important with PKD to eliminate snacking, because part of the diet healing properties is that you limit the number of insulin spikes. And they happen no matter what you eat, even if it's fat. Okay, so these were my top strategies to get to 100% compliance with a paleo-ketogenic diet. And when I got it right, it only took about 10 days before 85% of my joint pain just went away. I couldn't believe it. I was actually jumping to see if I feel pain. And guess what? I could jump and there was no pain. I am planning to stay on the paleo-ketogenic diet however long my body tells me. Mostly, I want to get my gut rest and the healing nutrients for it to recover. And sometime later, I will probably start introducing some root vegetables and some small amount of fruit. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.